In the last video, Violet pulled the trigger without hesitation at the moment Winter ran frantically. Loud gunshots can be heard. Winter groaned for a moment because he felt a severe backache and headache. At the same time, however, his whole body began to tremble like a leaf due to the shock. Winter's low voice was heard overhead. "You can change it like this." Winter, who was in Violet's body, muttered, "No, it can't be." He couldn't lift his head. He didn't want to check with his own eyes. He felt like he was falling into hell. The entire body sank into an unknown abyss. Winter scratched his neck with nothing like a person suffering from a fantasy. It was all a dream and a fake. It had to be. He muttered, "Please, it had to be, dream." At that time, Winter felt a little dizzy as her body wrapped around his arms. When the bodies of the two returned, there was Violet on his arm. At this moment, Violet looked as if something funny just happened. She bent down, looked at her husband, and whispered in a voice that sounded like joy to her husband, who was still as if he had died. She spoke, "I told you, it's easy." Winter looked as if he had forgotten how to use all the muscles in his face. He was just looking at Violet like a statue. Winter murmured to confirm that she was alive. "I just had a nightmare. It was a ridiculous dream. You keep putting me on edge that I'm starting to see things." He muttered, "No, it was all because of me. Yeah, I was the bad guy. I won't do that anymore. I really won't do it anymore. I'll stop as soon as you catch me. Never until you or I die. Please don't leave me." Violet, his name, Winter. Winter continued, "I have all those dreams." Winter said the same thing over and over again, rattling with his big body. He couldn't accept the situation at the moment. Violet showed her neck, and Winter's handprints remained intact. "Look at this, it's not a dream, you did this." She continued, "The first day we changed our bodies, when you left for a deal on Vidylan coffee beans, even after I held you. That day was really unbearable. I felt so miserable." Winter stopped moving again at Violet's words. He asked her to stop, but she just continued calmly as if explaining trivial things that happened before. She continued, "I was at a tea party, and Dave asked to be with me. I ran out of the tea party because I didn't like it. I know I'll get in trouble if I don't go back, but I fear going back party rather than dying, so I took my own life that day, but instead of dying, we changed bodies." What was next? Violet thought for a while and tapped her finger on her knee as if she knew, and continued, "The day I got stuck in the closet. I went there because I thought you would take my side, but you asked me to talk to you later. I'm always sad to be pushed away by you and your money. I shot myself in the head with a gun like now. Oh, how free I was to steal your body and go to the capital that day. You can always do what you want and go where you want. You will never know how I feel that day." Winter shouts, "How is it so easy for you to take your own life? What were you going to do if you really did end up dead?" Violet looked at him and replied, "That's an odd thing to say, Winter. I did it because I really did want to die." Now Winter was in agony because he couldn't even breathe properly. Violet continues, "But unfortunately, I can't seem to die by my own means. I don't know what else I can do, which is why I have decided to leave you. But of course, I was planning to return what you love most before I leave." Winter replied, "No, you're more important to me than money, so please, don't leave." She spoke, "Oh, these shoes were also from you, too." Winter grabbed her wrist in a hurry as Violet tried to take off the shoes decorated with pearls on the green velvet. Winter shouts, "Stop. Please stop. Are you really want to leave? And where and how do you live without anything on your name? How will you leave after leaving here?" She replied, "I don't know, but it took me 3 very long years to finally make this decision. And during those years, my resentment toward you has slowly grown bigger and bigger. You should have paid attention to me, at least a little. If you had paid attention to me before it came to this, then And now you're crying now, after all this time. Violet looked at Winter's face again and laughed without realizing it. Why are you doing this now? When she tried to let go of Winter's hand, Winter took her hand again with all his might. He spoke. No, I still can't let you. I won't let you leave. If you leave me, then I. Violet cuts off Winter's words, and spoke. Please side with me just once, Winter. When I'm by your side, I have to live in a hell where I am physically alive but inside dead, and I can't die even though I'm slowly dying, Winter, so please. Please save me, Winter. Winter's hand fell helplessly at her request. Violet raised her body and hugged Winter once and Spike, thank you. I knew you weren't that bad. Stay safe. Farewell, Winter. She slowly lifted herself up and left the place. Winter couldn't hold on to Violet, who said it was hell to be by his side. It wasn't until a long time after she left that Winter lifted himself up. He moved on because he couldn't bring Violet back to hell, and stopped because he couldn't stand to be in this hell without her, and he repeatedly stopped again. Winter called his wife with soulless eyes like a sleepwalker. Violet, don't go, Violet. Don't go. When Violet first comes out, Lulu, who greeted her warmly, runs out, and she shouts, someone, please bring me the Lord's coat and boots. Oh my Lord, please wear some boots. What the hell is going on here? Winter murmured in a bewildered voice as Lulu cried out, Violet is gone. She is. What? He continued. My wife left me. I will get her back. Where did she go? For now, let it be, because she says it's too hard to be with me right now. Winter asked Lulu in a blank voice. She'll be back after she has settled her heart, right? My lord, she muttered. He continued. She has to come back. How can I live alone? What am I going to do if I live alone? What's the point? He thought she might come back. The weather is not good, so she might be by his side for another day. Then he thought he should kneel and beg all day long. If I were to blame, if I were your hell, I'd rather die, so stay here. Recalling the moment where Violet shot herself in the head and spoke those words, I am slowly dying, repeated endlessly in his head, that he collapsed on group, and all the servants ran towards him. Violet ran frantically to the train station just in case Winter came. And fortunately, she took the train that arrived right away. The train station was crowded, but the train heading west was empty and freezing late at night. She gave everything to Winter and left, so she had very little money. It was cold and dark, so she was afraid of everything. Now that she thought about it, she was worried about leaving Winter behind. It was her first time seeing Winter with such a face. However, if she hadn't shocked him this much, he wouldn't have let her go, so it was inevitable. Soon after, he will wake up grumbling and start loving again to build his own kingdom. She had never left for such a strange and distant place alone. Violet looked back, muttering. Violet, who was looking at the rising sun, murmured, wow. Maybe it's because it's the southwest, but the weather is quite warm here. She thought, I've always thought that I was weak. Someone who couldn't get anything done by herself, but even then, I've endured it all. Violet decided to give herself a chance. She decided to give herself a chance not to be weak. Of course, she wasn't exceptionally strong. But why would that be evidence of weakness? Why did I think it was only a punishment that God didn't want my death? She murmured, maybe it's a blessing. Thinking of it like that, suddenly her body was smoldering. She walked bravely toward the harbor. Soon, her friend, Sharon, will come to the port on her family's boat. She was going to leave this continent on that ship. Her steps got faster and faster. Now she realizes that she can go anywhere she wants to go. After that, she wanted to go farther, farther away. Sharon Doss, who found Violet from the ship, waved her hand. Violet. Over here. Violet smiled. In the western direction, there was an island between the continents, which was the Duchy of Das, and a small peninsula attached to the continent a little further west. There was a village called Chiron. Hundreds of years ago, when the kingdom of Corsica, the owner of the land, was being invaded by pirates, they received the land as a gift from the Duchy of Dos to supplement their naval forces. As a result, only one village, the Chiron village, was in the territory of the Duchy of Das, and the Das family was separated from the royal family of Lacrown hundreds of years ago, so there were many similarities to Lacrown compared to other villages. Therefore, it was the right place for Violet to migrate, between the oak forests, which serve as a breakwater. Sharon, who saw the old house, whispered to her brother, "How can Violet live here? I don't think she'll live long enough to come into our house." Because Violet handed over everything she had to Winter, she could only get this house with the very little money she brought. Sharon continued, "I bet it won't be long before you come running back to my place. Don't you think so, Ferran?" Her brother and heir to the Das family, Ferran Das, who came with Sharon. The impeccable gentleman was wearing a white navy uniform as he was currently serving in the Lacrown Navy. He agreed with his sister and spoke. "She's right, Violet. Do you think you'll be fine here by yourself?" Violet replied, "I'll try to hold out for as long as I can. And thank you so much for helping me out." Sharon replied, "It was nothing. After all, it was Ferran who insisted on helping you out. He even steered the ship himself." Ferran replied, "Of course, it's the least we could do. Ever since Wayne left, I consider Violet as my own sister. He cared for you so much that he would be so upset if he heard that you ended up running away from your husband." When Ferran made a bitter face, recalling Wayne, Violet said as if she was teasing him, "You didn't even show up at your little sister's wedding." He replied, "He just didn't like that you were getting married for money." He continued, "But anyway, when did you start getting so sarcastic with your words?" She muttered, "Oh, you're right. She has caught a habit of Winter's mouth. Bad things were bound to get colored quickly. Goodness, the sun has set." Sharon noticed the time. She spoke, "All right then, we'll be on our way now. If anything happens, send us a telegram right away." Violet once again thanks both of them. After everyone left, there was only silence. Violet looked at the empty house. The door and also the window were broken, so she didn't know where to start and how to repair it. It looked like this because she did not check what kind of house it was and only made full-length transactions by telegraph from other continents. I also have to introduce myself to the Yefimchuk household. They are the most powerful family in this area. If things work out well, I may even be able to get a job from them. Then, all that's left is to... She paused for a moment. Then she thought, "It's up to me to deal with these kinds of things now. If I run away from here, what Winter said will become a reality. I don't want to be a princess who can't do anything on her own. I have to overcome that hurdle myself." Violet picked up a broom and started cleaning. Then, Living Spider fell to the ground and she barely opened her eyes and spoke to herself, "I really am a princess." Now she felt like she could finally understand her husband's feelings a little. The day before, Violet slept on a bed. She was unable to overcome her tiredness when she woke up after hearing a murmur outside the door. "The guy who lives around here said she looked like an aristocrat." That can't be true. That old house. Even though she's an aristocrat in this world, she shouldn't live in a place like this if she fails. If she's a noble, shouldn't we all come and say hello? Violet, a little relieved by the hum of people, put the gun back into the clutch and opened the door. When her face was seen, a middle-aged man, who appeared to represent the village, she asked, "Who is that?" The man took a step forward and spoke, "Have you moved in?" The man continued, "If you're moving in, you should come to the town hall in the evening to report your residence and pay for the breakwater here." At his words, Violet looked up at the oak tree. She soon spoke in a low voice. You mean this oak tree? Yes, exactly. Crown law states that the breakwater has no owner. This is the Duchy of Das, so the law must be the same. Who are you paying the fee to? I don't know if it's an administrative fee, although, I would understand if you were collecting maintenance costs. The man flinched at her point. At the same time, people began to murmur, what is she talking about, Chief? Yeah, what is she talking about? Everyone in the village takes turns managing the forest. Right, isn't this forest from the Yepam family? Didn't you say you're paying a fee to that family? As the people gathered, the head of the village shouted with sweat and fear. I'm going to the hall first because I have business to do. Then he ran away like crazy. The whole village began to run along the village leader, who suddenly ran away. As soon as the front became quiet, Violet staggered and touched the door frame. She muttered in herself, I didn't hold myself back and just said it. Hopefully, I didn't interfere in their business and cause any trouble. What if he comes back and gives me a hard time because of this? No, let's just focus on the problem at hand. First, let's finish all the cleaning that I couldn't get done yesterday. As soon as Violet entered, in her house she saw, village women are cleaning her house. Violet eyes widen. She asked, who are you? When did you get inside? Only lady reply, oh, we noticed that you haven't finished cleaning your place yet. Another lady who was standing behind spoke, thought we'd give you a hand while we're here. Another lady nonchalantly spoke, my, how does one live in a house as dirty as this? You should call a carpenter right away. First lady spoke, you were surprised that a bunch of people just showed up at your door. Right, we're sorry. Everyone's just really curious to know who moved in here. We're all very close friends here. Violet spoke, but still, would you please ask the owner for permission before you enter? Lady replied, oh my, but we're already inside. Anyway, my name is Fim. She pulled her hand forward to greet Violet and said, now that you're an official resident like us, get along with each other. Violet smiled and happily handshake with the lady and spoke, I would love to. After a year had passed, the house had managed to become a place to live. A group of children from the neighborhood rushed in. Violet. Let me hide. Violet asked, you're in trouble again, you little ones. Unlike the adults in the Dessen neighborhood, Violet did not make loud noises or get angry. The laughing children hid in the house, and after a while, she saw their mother, who were catching them. When Violet gently raised her hand, people gathered and took the children out of her house. The child said, oh, we hid well. Mother replied, do you want to hide in this house all the time and hope not to get caught? Oh my, we're always saying sorry for our children. Please excuse us, all of the town's children come here because you're always so easy on them, Violet. Violet replied, well, I like that the children always come and liven up the place. When the children were caught and dragged out, Violet laughed without realizing it. Violet asked, but anyway, why have you two come here? Fim replied, we came to give you some of these. Violet's eyes sparkled. She asked, oh, my God, thank you. Where did you get such a nice potato? Fim replied, from people who came on board to the port the other day. Violet asked, really? Why have they come all the way here? She continued, please sit down. Would you like some tea? Then they all sat down for tea. Fim spoke, anyway Violet, it's been a while since you moved in. How have you been these days? It also looks like your house has been all fixed up. Violet replied, you're right. I've become a lot more familiar with doing chores. It's all thanks to you, Fim. Fim spike, it was truly a disaster when you first came. When you said you didn't know how to clean nor do the laundry, I really thought you were a princess from some faraway land. Violet bowed her head and spoke softly. Yes, but now I've really been doing my best with the chores. Lady asked. Either way, it's nice to see that you've been adjusting quite well. Is there anything else bothering you? Violet muttered. Anything else that's bothering me? Then she thought. Violet fell in love with her house for the first time in her life. It was the first time that she felt so comfortable. Adapting to Winter's absence was not too difficult. He wasn't the man who was always there for her in the first place. However, Violet often encountered the fantasy of Winter sitting cross-legged in front of a round wooden table, which she particularly loved. In her fantasy, Winter really liked this old house, so she used to bang her head on the ceiling and just grumble a little bit, and quickly grinned away. At first, she tried not to think of Winter as much as she could, but her lonely longing for him rarely disappeared, so she decided to just give up and accept it. She then replied, to Fim, there's nothing else. I'm just peachy. After chatting, Violet went to her work, to Yefimchuk household. While she was working, she was lost in her thoughts. I really have no idea why I long for a man who never hesitated to say such harsh words out of his mouth. I really don't understand my feelings at all. Then suddenly she hears footsteps. A lady from behind her back shouts Violet name. Violet around. It was Lizia Yefimchuk, eldest daughter of the Yefimchuk household. She asked, Violet, where did you get your hair done? Violet mattered. She is here again. Violet reply, I just washed and dried it. Lizia spoke. You liar. You're telling me your hair is that nice from just washing it. Violet, who was busy, reply, yes. I also brushed it. And, miss, please don't be like this. You must hurry and get ready for the party. It's a party hosted by your household. Lizia thought, I'm sure of it. Violet has got to be the daughter of some great household. I knew it. The minute she came to our house for a job. The way she talked, her gestures, and her facial expressions. She possessed all of the features that I've always wanted. Lizia was about to say something, but Violet spoke first. You want to advance into the central social circles, then you must refine your speech, miss, and you mustn't hunch your shoulders like that. Lizia felt embraced. She replied, this is only because everyone makes fun of me for being too tall. Violet replied, I wonder why they make fun of it. I think it's one of your charms. Lizia was shocked hearing such words. She asked, do you think so? Violet continued, just because you hunch your shoulders, doesn't mean your height will lessen somehow. You must gain confidence in your appearance. Lizia suddenly straightened up her posture. Violet comment, yes, exactly like this. Then Violet turned around for work and spoke. Now, I also have things that I must get to. Lizia ramble and ask, then how should I hold a teacup? If you know anything at all about manners, please teach me. It's fine if it's something as simple as showing me how to walk, please. Violet took Lizia name. Lizia. Hearing this, Lizia flinched. Violet continued, do not rush yourself. There'll be many chances for you to advance into those social circles. Goodness, you have barely turned 19. Lizia spoke. But right now is my chance. In only a few days, there'll be a grand opening party for the new Konitz Hotel. Hearing Lizia words, Violet startled. She stopped working and lost her balance. Lizia ran towards her and held the stool. Lizia spoke. Be careful. You could have really hurt yourself. Violet asked in trembling voice. What did you say just now? Lizia didn't understand, but she spoke. What do you mean? Violet replied. You said there was going to be a party to celebrate the opening of a new Konitz hotel, but the Konitz company's business hasn't reached this area yet. Lizia replied, have you not heard? The Konitz company bought the hill behind the castle walls to build their hotel. They bought all of the land stretching to the coast. Apparently, the new hotel is going to be huge. so a lot of people are coming from overseas. Violet remembered what Fim told her. Then the people that Fim was talking about, people from overseas, arrived at the port yesterday. Did Winter find me, but he isn't the kind of person. A hotel and show off his wealth knowing the kind of situation I am in. Is this a simple coincidence? After all, he probably has no interest left in me. Lysia saw Violet worried. She asked, Violet, are you sure you're okay? Violet entered the entrance to the market at the bottom of the hill and began to see if there were any food ingredients from Lacrown. As expected, she was immersed in grocery shopping because she could see familiar ingredients. She thought, I think I've become more sensitive due to the news of Winter's arrival, but it won't even matter to me as long as we don't cross paths. It's been a year since she was separated from him. She was a little curious about how he was doing. While she was lost in her thought, she bumped into someone. When she turned around in surprise, it was a face she knew. Violet's eyes were round when she saw Flip and Hyle. After a year, Winter's favorite servant, they were officially employed by Karnak Corporation and was dressed neatly. She asked, What are you two doing here? But they hurriedly pushed Violet, and said, Madam, please come this way for a second. She asked, Where are you taking me? Then she heard a familiar voice. Where did Hyle go? She heard a familiar voice that made her feel emotional just listening to it. It was Winter blooming. After hiding Violet, Hyle came out. He greets Winter and spoke. Were you looking for me, President? Winter asked, Where did you run off to? And where's Philip? Hyle replied, Something came up, so we were with the vice president for a bit. Philip's there right now. Winter sighed. All right. Go down to the 4th alley and buy everything there. I need to start looking into the special menu that will be offered as room service for the new hotel. Then Winter left, and Flip called Violet. You may come out now, Madam Violet. Violet saw both of them and speaks. It's been a while since I've last seen you two. You helped me so that I wouldn't cross paths with Winter, right? Flip replied, Yes, we thought that it would be for the best. Since last year, the president has not been in the best condition. Violet bowed her head. Spoke. Did he get angrier because of me? He continued, I'm not exactly sure. Angry is the right word. It's more complicated than that. He's become a lot more sensitive, and he hasn't been able to sleep properly. I don't know how he would have reacted if you two had met earlier. But that aside, it's getting quite late. I'll escort you, madam. Violet thanks them. Thank you, I appreciate it. I mean, it's true that I'd rather avoid Winter. Then Hyle wants to say something but he hesitates. But finally he opened his mouth and speaks. Madam Violet, before you go, I'd like to ask you one thing. It doesn't have to be any time soon. But, do you have any plans on returning to the president? At Flip's questions Violet muttered, returning to Winter. Hyle told Violet about Winter depression. Winter has never mentioned Violet in almost a year. He received all her letters regularly, but it was because the money was enclosed. However, he suffered from serious nightmares periodically throughout the year. Flip couldn't ask what dream it was, but a man who had nothing to be afraid of in the world woke up screaming or calling Violet's name, shaking his whole body and staying up all night with open eyes. Once he had that dream, he had to take a strong medicine for a week and fall asleep as if he was fainting. Hyle even asked Winter, that's he should lie down and take proper rest. Winter's condition is deteriorating because he keep working day and night. But Winter always say, he is fine, working helps him to pass time. But Hyle thought something else. But all Winter does for work is hotel expansion. If he continues to build more and more hotels, the company might go downhill at this point. Winter asked from Hyle, what happened to the thing I told you to look into? Hyle informed, It seems that Madam has been adjusting to life in Chiron without much difficulty. She's been working at the Yefimchuk household. And he gathered this information from an employee who we can trust, so there's nothing you have to worry about. Hyle shows Winters a letter, and also Madam Violet has sent money again. Winter muttered, "She didn't even take any of her money when she left. I doubt she has enough money to sustain herself." He also read the letter sent by Violet. Winter opened it and read the context. "Dear Winter Blooming, now that the situation has settled, I have enclosed the divorce papers with this letter. All that's left is your signature. Please take all the time you need to think about it before signing the document. I shall take care of everything then. I only wish the best for you, Violet Lawrence." After reading the letter he muttered, "Violet Lawrence, not Violet Blooming. Is she that sick and tired of me, that she sent me this divorce paper?" Then he ordered Hyle to shred the letter. After few hours, someone came to Winter office. The person spoke. "Please excuse my intrusion, President." "Were you looking for me, President?" He was the son of the Angeli Ristic household and vice president of the Konitz company. Winter replied, "Shut up." At Winter's words, Anjali bit his lips. The fact that Anjali of the Ristic family, who was born in a prestigious family and is known for his thorough education, cried out like this means that, if it were an ordinary person, he would have resigned several times and quit. Winter grumbled and said, "If you've paid off all your debts, quit." Anjali replied, "I haven't paid you back yet, but regardless of that, if I quit, the company won't run. I strongly suggest that you take some time off and really think about." Winter stood up. He grabbed Anjali by his collar and spoke, "Stop interfering in my work and just focus on yours. While you're here, I'll give you 2 days off, so go cool your head. And Hyle, fetch me the construction papers from the other region." Then both of them came out from Winter's office. Anjali said, "He was never this reckless of a person. I really hope that he rests and comes to his senses." "Is there no other way?" Hyle told Anjali, "I've thought about it, and what if Madam Violet were to come back?" Angel replied, "Now that you mention it, has he been looking for his wife lately?" Hyle shook his head and spoke, "He's asked about how she's been doing, but other than that, he waited about 3 months after she left, and he's only started working since then." Anjali comments, "He was extremely distraught when Madam Violet left. Even a simple reassurance of her return might have an effect on him." Hyle shook his head said, "But we have no idea what Madam Violet truly wants." Anjali said, "Still, we can't keep on like this. If you ever come across her, you should try bringing it up." After informing Violet all that happened since she left, Hyle paused for a moment. Violet breaks the silence and spoke, "Didn't you say it would be best if Winter and I didn't cross paths?" Hyle continued, "But ever since the president became like this, the company has fallen into danger. He's been going overboard and recklessly charging ahead. I'm sure that he's well aware that it'll eventually damage the company if he continues like this, and so I thought that if you returned, the situation might turn for the better." Violet replied, "I apologize, but I have no intention of coming back. I believe the next day we see each other will be the day he returns the signed divorce papers." Hyle informed her, "Actually, he asked me to shred it as soon as he received it." She replied, "No wonder I haven't received it yet." Hyle asked, "Why do you not want to meet the president?" She replied, "Because I am happy with how things are now. I don't want to return to the dark days that I spent by his side, so please do not force it upon me." They both replied, "We understand, Madam Violet." The scene shifts to Winter's room. It's been like this ever since Violet left. Everything in the world has become bland. Even a little stimulating was to build a new hotel. In the past, he used to have goosebumps every time he got a building, but now it just gave him enough stimulation to confirm that he was alive. He double-checked the letter that had just arrived at Blooming's mansion some time ago. It was a letter from Violet's former doctor, Beryl. The medicine prepared for the little lady was mixed with the medicine that the Duke of Blooming and his wife had conspired with. There is no evidence, but it appears that taking the drug will cause symptoms such as pregnancy. I'm sorry for running away after doing such a bad thing even though you've been treating me warmly. For the first time, he raised his voice to his parents and became angry and cut off all financial support. The family will hang on to the sound of dying, and he doesn't want to be in Lacrown anymore, so he came to the place where Violet was. If he was sad, it seemed like a habit to visit his wife. He had no will to his wife, but he was completely mentally dependent on her. Enough to fall down when she disappears. Sometimes my trashy blood can help. His wife, who almost died because of him, was alive because of his damn blood. For a year, the thing I hated the most in the world was myself. Next day, Rizia shouts, "What should I do if you come this late?" Violet replied, "It took time to get ready because you called me out of blue, but why are you rushing me?" Rizia replied, "Look, it's an exclusive invitation from the Konitz company. They're hosting an outdoor party." Rizia was excited. She asked nervously, "How can it happen? Why did he invite our family?" "Because it's close." Violet said, "Can you show me the invitation?" Rizia continued, "Why do you think they invited our household? Do you think it? Because we're close by, I'm sure that everyone famous will be there. If that happens, they'll surely find out that I'm just some country bumpkin." Violet spoke, "Why would you think that?" Rizia grabbed her head and said, "I can just tell. I don't even know what gift I should bring to the party. Do you have any recommendations? You're from Lacrown, so you must know something." Violet, who had been thinking for a while, opened her mouth. "It's good to bring olive oil." "Just some olive oil?" Rizia asked. Violet continued, "The olive oil made by the Yefimchuk family is wonderful. Lacrown is much colder than here, so olives don't grow. I'm sure it'll serve as a great present." Violet's eyes were briefly fixed on her husband's signature on the invitation. News of Winter's secret party was so big that it appeared immediately in Corsica's evening newspaper that day. When Rizia was nervous because she felt like it was not her place, Geordie, who was her brother, who came with her as an escort, was friendly. He spoke, "You're gonna stay only a little while anyway, aren't you?" Rizia replied, "If you build a good network here, you could be invited to a prestigious place. Shouldn't you also be looking for someone to marry?" He replied, "You're right, it'd be nice if there was someone like Violet around here." Rizia said, "You do realize that your standards are too high, right?" Rizia found Winter welcoming the guests at the door while she was playing around, and stopped. Geordie, who used to be noisy, also straightened out because he was nervous. Geordie whispered in Rizia's ear, "Wow, his presence is overwhelming, just like the rumors." As a result, the brothers and sisters walked to Winter in a state of tension, as if they were herbivores in front of carnivores. Rizia slightly grabbed her skirt and said, "Hello, I'm Rizia of the Yepam family, and this is my brother, Geordie Yepam." "Welcome." Winter received the greeting. Rizia hesitated, and took away the olive oil bottle that Geordie had brought and handed it out to Winter. "And this is a present that I prepared. It's an olive oil made by the family every day, and it's very high quality. I heard you like it." "Where did you hear that I like that?" Winter asked. Rizia paused when Winter asked with a feeling of rudeness. Then she spoke, "Someone from Lacrown told me." Winter opened the lid of olive oil on the spot and smelled it. When he showed interest for the first time, unlike other gifts so far, attention was drawn. Rizia was a little excited and continued, "I've eaten it all my life, but it's still delicious." Winter replied, "You have a good sense." He looked the freshly made olive oil. Both Yepam siblings startled. Winter wants to ask something, but he paused and changed his words and spoke. "Why don't we talk more about your olive oil? It'll be business related. Of course, please come." Flip opened the door. Rizia can't believe. She went inside. Winter asked her to wait in room. He had little business. Then he went off. Violet was working at the Yepam, so he sent an invitation to the Yepam family, and the invitation was returned with such a great gift. Each guest brought only useless things, but only the Yepam family brought the right ones. He muttered, "Anyway, she's smart." Winter was excited just by the fact that she didn't forget him. She even remembered what he liked and thought that she had advised a gift like this, so the blood that had been stuck for a while was boiling. He was going to spray this olive oil on all kinds of food right away. While excited to work for the first time in a while, Winter stopped after hearing Hyel and Anjali's voices through the slightly open door. He heard Hyel's voice. "I told her that we were on the brink of bankruptcy, and she didn't budge at all. Madam Violet has no intention of coming back." Winter stopped in the hallway and start listening their conversation. Hyel continue. "Maybe I should have sent that servant, Jen, instead. I remember she used to follow Madam Violet very closely. We even have enough money now to get her royal status back, but she says that she's a lot happier in that run-down old house that she's living in right now." Anjali asked, "Why does she not want to meet him?" Hale replied, "She believes that she'll become miserable again if she meets the president." Anjali asked, "Miserable, what you mean?" Hyel continued, "She said that she didn't want to return to the dark days that she spent by his side." Winter, who stopped walking, quietly turned his back there. He entered his bedroom. Then he opened the safe. He always carried the banknotes that Violet gave him. Her hand must have reached it. Even for a moment. He didn't want to force a person who ran away because she hated it so much. He waited for her to come back on her own. He thought that if he was rich enough to have everything in the world, she would definitely come back. He believed there was no way she wouldn't come back. No one can help but step on the land of winter blooming if he is born in Lucknow now. Now, at the age of 29, this was the best for him. But she didn't come back. And just now, Winter knew she would never return. A year ago, he was convinced that if she left him and wandered around, she would definitely meet the wall and return to his arms in exhaustion. But she's not. She would still be unhappy being by his side, and she could get along well without him. Without any expression on his face, Winter put the banknotes in his inner pocket and walked to the balcony. Then he climbed on the balcony railing and jumped out. His body fell under the wall. Now guys, our manhwa ends here. What do you think happened? Winter will die or just seriously injured, and Violet will came back? Share your thoughts. Thanks for watching this video. Please like and comment. Subscribe. Till then, bye.